Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for today's Commerce Talks webinar, AI for Small Business. My name is Julie Martini. I'm the Vice President of Public Affairs at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, and I have the pleasure of facilitating today's session. I'd like to acknowledge that in the background supporting me and our panelists today are my colleagues Jeff, Michael, and Neville, who are working hard to ensure that we deliver the smoothest possible experience for you. Before I introduce today's guest speakers, I want to let you know that the chat box has been enabled and we invite you to engage with us and each other throughout the session. I'd also like to acknowledge that this webinar was made possible through the support of our Skills Bridge program. Skills Bridge works to address skills shortages for medium and small businesses through a national digital training platform. This program is led by the Ontario Chamber with the support of the Future Skills Centre, Magnet, and the Diversity Institute. If you're interested in learning more, you can find a link posted in the chat. And now I am pleased to introduce our speakers, the founders of the AI Growth Academy, Catherine and Stephen Toms, whose mission it is to help small organizations confidently adopt AI for smarter growth and more efficient operations. Catherine, Stephen, welcome.
Thank you so much, Julie. Really pleased to be here and looking forward to the next hour together, everyone. So I think, Catherine, it's almost time to dive in, but we've only got one rule for this webinar, is we want this to be as interactive as possible. So please, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a chat function. So please, we're going to be asking lots of questions, ideas, any thoughts, anything that you have questions along the way, please use the chat function. We will not be using Q&A. It will purely just be a chat. So I think it's time to dive in.
Fabulous. So very, very warm welcome and thank you for joining us today, especially in the busy run up to the Christmas break. We're really, really grateful that you're here, and it's brilliant that you're starting to think ahead and getting yourself AI ready for 2026. So that is the theme of today. So wherever you're at on your AI journey, whether you have just been sitting on the sidelines and sort of waiting to dive in, or whether you're already dabbling and getting some results, there'll be plenty in today's session where we can help get you to the next level. So as Julie mentioned, we support lots and lots of small, medium-sized businesses. We are a small business ourselves, and everything that we're sharing with you is what we're learning and seeing working in organizations in terms of finding a safe path forward. What is the AI opportunity? How do you use it in a safe, responsible way, and then taking you through three big levers of AI in your business. So where you can find value from efficiency, productivity, doing things faster, but really the interesting stuff gets when we start to get more effective. So how can we make better insights, use our data better, understand what's going on in the broader market, and then finally unlocking that all good innovation that's going to really help us scale and grow in 2026.
So thank you, Rita, for your very first question. Yes, the session is going to be recorded and you will be sent out the recording of today's session.
Fabulous. And what we find with most organizations that we work with, the real challenge with AI isn't actually the technology. The technology is surprisingly simple when you weave it in. It's more about how we think about the ways that we work. And AI is a huge opportunity to unlock different ways of working, rethinking the ways that we do things. But we tend to get kind of a little bit caught up in the tools and the technology and feeling like you need to have real technical skills to do this stuff. And you don't. It's more about focusing in on your business and figuring out where can AI unlock the most value for us. So we've got our first poll coming up. So you will see in a second a poll button, thank you, has just popped up for you. Just let us know where you are today. So what describes your use of AI at the moment, from I don't use it at all, through to dabbling, starting to use it more, and right up at it's my personal assistant. Please do not take it away from me.
This is like watching the races, Catherine. There seems to be a clear winner. Oh, actually, no. So I think we're going to close the poll in a moment. So we'll close the poll now, and we will share the results. But what we can see here is most of us are in that state to use it more. We've got dabbling, which is great, in that experimenting. Some of you might be curious. And then we've got next in the spot is obviously using it as your personal assistant. So we've got a broad range of people on the course today.
And that spread is totally normal. We tend to see at the moment it's about a third, a third, a third. So we're absolutely sitting in that bracket in terms of just at the starting line and starting to think about it. So You can really feel a lot of pressure with AI that you're behind. So please trust us this morning. You are not. Wherever you are on your journey, you've done the right step by being here today. And it's all about just, slowly embracing and bringing it into your business. So in terms of levers of AI value,
yeah, so
Steve,
as Catherine sort of started off, there's three levers of where AI will drive value for you and your business. The first one is, yes, efficiency. We can definitely, with AI, do things faster, but never ever compromise quality over speed. Just because we can do things faster doesn't mean they're going to be better. So yeah, we can do things a lot faster, and a lot of people we see that do sort of AI training get about an hour to an hour and a half back every single day just by using AI as your really trusted sparring partner or co-pilot. But that's not really the interesting bit. That doesn't really shift the needle. What's gonna really shift the needle for your business is when we start to use AI for effectiveness. This is when we use AI to have better understanding of our insights, better understanding of our data. We can interrogate it. We can ask questions. We can start building our digital assistance. It allows us to be able to do things better. We can start to use AI as a sparring partner, and we can put our business plan to AI and say, hey, what am I missing here? Where's the opportunity? What would a CFO think of this? What would a CEO think of this? You can take it from different perspectives. So this is where we start to use AI to do things more effectively. And then where we're starting to see the real interesting bit where you can is the democratization of resources. What do I mean by that? It means we can start to use AI for innovation. This is becoming particularly exciting for small businesses where they can start to create images, create video, create copy that previously would have taken studios, and huge resources and investment to actually do. We can start to build applications with AI through a simple task of vibe coding. So this is where we can start to become really more innovative to connect better with our new customers and connect better with current customers. But we do have a saying here at the AI Growth Academy, and that is that you've got to remember that where the action happens is really you've got actual intelligence. That is you. That is your employees. Times artificial intelligence. That's where you really start to see the magic to happen.
And again, to reassure you about the people that get the best results out of AI, a study came out the other week and it was talking about it's just really good communication skills. It's thinking about AI like a human assistant in your business, and you have to be able to give it the right instructions and give it the right, communicate with it well. So you learn how to collaborate with AI in your business. It's less about there's all these phrases thrown around like prompt engineering or vibe coding or agents, and it can make it feel really technical. But actually, when you work out how to tap into your actual intelligence and use AI to help you amplify things and do things faster and better, as Steve said, that's where the magic happens. So you are always in the driving seat. So we're going to talk about safety, because safety is probably one of the biggest things that we see holding businesses back at the moment, and worries around, is AI trustworthy? Am I taking risks? Am I going to do something that damages my brand if I use AI? So one of the first things that we want to make sure is that we stay safe. And we know you have lifeguards on the beach. Think of those lifeguards. Whenever you go to the beach or go anywhere where there's a lifeguard, you know that there's a safe zone. And AI guardrails are exactly the same thing. It's where are those parameters? Where's the safe zone that we're happy to swim in that keeps us within, out of danger? So if we're clear about those parameters, everyone in our business also feels safe. There's real clarity around our do's and don'ts with AI and how we're going to bring it into our business in a way that is responsible, but also keeps our data safe, keeps our customers safe, and keeps our brands safe. So we've got another quick poll for you. We wanted to assess where we're at the moment with regards to AI guidelines or guardrails. So have you got anything in place in your workplace at the moment?
And remember, team, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to put them into chat. We do love questions, and we will do our best to get to answer them along the journey as we go. So we're going to close the poll in a moment. Yes, we'll share the results now for everyone so everyone can see the results. Wow, if you look at that, most of us at the moment don't have any guardrails.
And again, just to reassure you, you're not alone. That is what we see in most organizations that we've got, that we work with. But also a lot of people are unsure, because often what's happening with guardrails is we're getting really big beefy guardrails coming out, that are all our policies and everything. And that's helpful. We need to have a legal and a compliance document that protects us against any rogue AI usage. But that's not actually that helpful for the people in the business that are working with AI every day. They need something simple and clear to follow. And guardrails are your absolute foundation, because there's a lot of things it helps with. So number one, it helps with, where are we going to work with AI? Actually, what tools are we working in? And we're seeing at the moment that there's a big thing called shadow AI, or bring your own AI tools to work. And I'm sure we've all seen that, and maybe some of us on the call have done that. But we know that that's a huge problem, because we actually don't know the tools that people are using, and we don't know where they're going, what they're putting into those tools. So the vast majority of organizations have got this problem at the moment, that there are shadow tools being brought in. And then even more worrying than that, almost 70% of employees confessed, and that's only the ones that were honest and told us, that they pasted confidential information into AI tools without approval. And this is obviously where things get risky and where accidental AI might happen. And it's not anybody doing something intentionally wrong. It's simply that they've been given the tools, but not given the training or the guardrails around what's safe, where does our data go, how do we make sure we look after our customers, and we don't have one of those dreadful leaks happening that can damage our brand. And at the center of it all with guardrails, it is all about humans. Guardrails actually release you to be able to experiment and innovate safely. So rather than being a big list of the things you can't do and making people feel fearful, it actually gives people the freedom, just like those lifeguards on the beach that we spoke about. If I go here, I'm in the safe zone and I can safely experiment. So they allow your teams to really, really thrive in a safe, responsible environment. First step of your guardrails, if we were going to run through a couple of really simple things to think about, number one is, where are you going to work with AI? So which tools are you working in? And we're seeing a really interesting trend emerge at the moment that might feel familiar to you. We've got obviously AI showing up and getting layered into all of our enterprise tools. So wherever you're working in your business, you're probably seeing AI assistance and AI getting woven into it. So whether that is through your Microsoft license and your Copilot popping up in the corner, or perhaps some of us are on Google and starting to see Gemini pop up, or indeed general productivity systems that we've got in our business, and even our things that we're using for marketing or finance or HR. AI is showing up in all of these tools. And the great thing about AI inside your enterprise stack is, it's safe. It's your data. You've got compliance. You've got privacy. It's not going anywhere. It's not training any big system or out in the public domain. So you can work safely inside there. Then what we're seeing is what we would call a two-speed approach to AI at the moment, where a lot of the advancements that we've seen in tools like ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, because of the pace that they've been able to move at, what we can do with AI over there has been more exciting, more innovative. It's given us more opportunities than working inside our tech stack. So what we've seen in most organizations is that there's kind of two things going on at the moment. We've got working inside the tools that we've got, but an awful lot of businesses are then jumping out and using chatbots and alternative systems as well. So I think this is our
final poll. So team, into the poll, which AI tools are you or your teams using? Only internal enterprise tools like Copilot or Gemini, only standalone AI chatbots like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, or mix of both, or not sure? How's everyone getting on? Okay, I think we can start seeing the numbers coming up now. Okay, so given roughly,
wow. Gosh, that's extremely telling, and again, very, very reflective of what we're seeing globally with small businesses that we're working with. The Copilots and Geminis took a little bit of time to catch up. So a lot of people went into them and went, oh, they're not great. I can't really do very much in here. They've got a lot better. But as a result, a lot of people have been jumping outside. So again, what you've shared with us is very, very reflective of what we're seeing going on. And in terms of the split that we see, exactly almost on the money, what you shared with us as well, that you said 50% of you were using a mix of both. What we're seeing globally is that's around 60%. And then again, likewise, we've only got a small percentage just working inside enterprise tools and quite a chunk of people just working outside. So one of the goals really is this has emerged because a lot of the tools released features and we didn't necessarily know they were there. And internally, our staff haven't had any training on things like Copilot or Gemini. So they're simply scratching the surface and they're not sure what they can do in there. So one of our goals with getting everybody up to speed is to make sure you're squeezing as much out of the tech stack you've already got, but then you're safely dipping in and going outside if you need to top up and do things that you can't do in there at the moment. But yes, that split is very, very common at the moment. The second element of your guardrails is less about where you'll work and more about how you'll bring AI into your business the right way. And when we say the right way, we do know that there are issues emerging, again, without training. What we're seeing, and you might find this familiar or frustrating in your organization, we've seen a rise in what's called work slop. And it was actually the Macquarie Dictionary Word of the Year for 2025. And what does work slop actually mean? It means that people are jumping into AI, and because we've all been under so much pressure and we're so busy and we're constantly trying to do more with less and just get things out the door, what's emerging is people jumping into AI and using, as Steve said, using the do it faster lever, but actually, when you scratch beneath the surface, it's not very good quality. And this is causing an issue in organizations because this is actually backfiring with productivity. And I'm sure you've all had a piece of work from a colleague or an email that you've read and gone, that doesn't quite sound like you. So really, we want to educate people that we want to use AI in a way that represents us. So as Steve said, not AI doing the work for us, but doing the work with us. So it's still us, it's just us faster, better, easier. And then we've also had situations, this one was a recent one in Australia, but we've all probably seen them globally where there's been mishaps with cutting and pasting stuff out of AI or sending stuff out directly to clients that is clearly AI. And that has a really bad brand reputation, whether it's marketing materials that read like AI or error-laden reports or incorrect factual information.
Just 3 days ago, there was a publication in France where the newspaper actually had printed the follow-up question ChatGPT had asked. So yes, this is something we have to be really mindful of, that idea of cutting and pasting.
But again, if people in our business haven't had training, then we just want to make sure that people are supported to understand that there's a right way to do this, and we want to do it in a way that enhances us. So what we really recommend is having guardrails at a kind of top level. So you've got your chunky guardrails that are legal, compliance, protect your business, got all your T's and C's in it. But then we have really simple communication with people in our different teams within our organisation. So whether that's finance, HR, legal, or whether you, like Steve and I, are just a small business founder and you want to think about how you use AI in different formats in your organisation, but translating it into something that's simple and understandable. So we use traffic lights where we've got green is our absolute, yep, that's fine, that's good to go. Ideating, summarising, planning, tidying up, editing and formatting, all brilliant with AI. But never zone is anything that would be misleading or any public data. I do, from a Canadian perspective, I know there's a lot of work being done at the government level at the moment with the AI plan. So there will be more guardrails and more advice coming down the stream. But at the moment, we just say take a common sense approach to it. Think about it how you've always thought about using customer data. If your customers would be uncomfortable with it, it's probably something that we don't want to use AI for.
So a couple of great questions have come in from this section. Thank you, Gail, for your first question around paid standalone chatbots like your ChatGPTs, your Claudes. Just be mindful of, if you're on the free version of, say, ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, any of these platforms, if you're on the paid, you are tapping into a shared data. So that means all the data you put into AI, it's been housed in a shared data server. Okay, big servers. So everyone's in there. If you're on the Plus version of ChatGPT, your details, your information is still being kept in a shared data warehouse. If you're on the enterprise or you're on the Teams version of ChatGPT, for example, they'll partition that data into your own server, which means no one has access to it. It's walled, and that's very much the benefit of Copilot and Gemini, is that every workspace is walled, which means that no one can take your data is 100% safe. So it's just something to be mindful of there when you think about where data is being, how your data is being stored and where's it being stored, and is the large language model actually learning off that data. So yes, Teams and enterprise, it is a partitioned data warehouse. But if you're just on that plus version of ChatGPT, then potentially data is at risk there. Okay, so team, just want to check how everyone's getting on. So we've done guardrails. Please, any questions at all, please put them into chat and we can ask them as well. Catherine will also be busy typing away as well. The next bit is efficiency. So when we think about AI, yes, AI can build efficiency. And as I said, we can get between an hour to an hour and a half back every day purely by using AI more effectively. And when we think about the saving times, there is there's lots of numbers banded around, from an hour a day to 122 hours a week, whatever. Not a week, that'd be extraordinary, a year, but whatever the number is, there is no question that AI can help us do things faster and better and allow us to outsource that sort of low value work. And that's where we want to really focus in on that low value work that we can outsource, that stuff that we would do repeatable. How do we then identify those use cases? So the best way to identify these use cases is, number one, is there's two layers when you think about efficiency in your business. Yes, you've got a team layer, a business layer, but then also an individual layer. Every individual in your business has got an individual role. They've got different responsibilities. They approach things differently. And the reason why I've got this picture of a mobile phone here is I've got my iPhone here. I'm sure that most people on the call will be either on an iPhone or Samsung, for example. The technology is exactly the same. However, as soon as you open up that mobile phone, every mobile phone globally would be unique. The way we use it, the different apps we have. And that's really about where you get the most out of efficiency, is working with your teams and seeing where can we build efficiency at a team level, but more importantly, empowering your team members to look for how they can find efficiencies in their own individual role. So first thing we see is people start with the tools. No, start with the problems. Take the time to invest in understanding where is it that we could bake AI into our day-to-day. And this is not a hard thing to do, right? It just allows a small investment upfront, working with your teams, brainstorming, and then looking for where those opportunities might be to bake AI in. So what are we actually looking for? At an individual level, we're looking for what we call the battery drainers. What are the things in your day that are just draining your battery? What are those mundane tasks you do, or the things you don't necessarily like doing, or things that take ages but don't deliver actual incremental value or growth to your business? And that's what it's all about. If we think about our day, we've been conditioned to be busy. Right? So how do we start to work smarter and look for those opportunities that don't just allow us to be busy for busy's sake, but how we can be busy, but focus on the things that are actually going to drive our business? So the three things you want to be looking for: repetitive tasks. What is a task that you do over and over again? And at the end of today's session, I will show you how one company is using it to build assistants that are tailored and trained on completing that one task for them. Very easy to do, and I'll show you how that's done a bit later. What are those bottlenecks in the business? So where are those things where the bottlenecks are within one, that could be at a team level, it could be an individual level, it could be around compliance, whatever it might be. Where are those bottlenecks that we can look for those opportunities to get the flow of our business processes faster? And then finally, time intensive. Where are those tasks that take loads of time? I would strongly recommend you get your team together, whether you're an individual on this call or you're a team of 5, a team of 50, whatever you might be. but breaking it down into these three things and just brain dumping it all onto a piece of paper, and then start to circle, where can we find those quickest wins? So if you could do this today, say we could do this on the call now, into the Zoom chat, I wish AI could, so I don't have to. What would that look like? So into chat now. So what's some things that you'd like AI to be able to outsource to AI? Right, grant responses. Oh, yes, absolutely. That's a great one. Social media, do a marketing, scheduling, better recruitment sounds like good. Take finance data. Yeah, great. And that is where something like Copilot or Gemini is amazing. You can take finance data and you can now just work with it and talk to your data. You can literally go in and say, hey, what are the insights that I'm missing here? Or what are the opportunities for the business? Or you can just ask them natural language questions and you can get those answers back. Incredibly powerful. What other things we want to do? Write documents and reports. If we're doing regular report writing, this is going to be a perfect candidate for building an assistant, which I'll show you in a moment. I love all my admin work. Wouldn't it be great if we could just outsource all of it to AI? But it's not about outsourcing all of it. It's about understanding where AI can effectively and how can it efficiently, but also accurately provide you that support. Agree with clone myself. Great. We're going to clone you in 5 minutes. Into chat now, actually. Give me a Y or N. Would you like me to show you how you could clone AI so it thinks like you? Give me a Y or N into chat. And we're getting a couple of Y. We've got one Y. It doesn't seem like it's a... So fine. I think we're getting a few more people coming in. Yeah, so if you would like me to show you how to clone yourself, build a digital twin of yourself, into chat, give me a Y. And if we get enough votes, let's go for it. And I can take you how to do that in a minute. Oh, I think Catherine is starting to... I think that could be quite an interesting topic. We'll come back to that right now. So final one, team, is that little exercise, and this little slide here is a really powerful activity to take back into your workplace and ask your teams. Start with understanding what repetitive tasks are, the bottlenecks, the time-intensive ones. Talk through what those definitions would look like. Then ask them to brain dump. And then you're going to start at a team level, you're looking for what those commonalities are. What are the same things people said? Put them into a group. Or at an individual level, where can we start to find answers to how we can fix this? I promise you, 75% at least of the tasks that you wish AI could do could be done within Gemini, Copilot, or ChatGPT, without doubt, 75%. Alrighty, so let's have a look at effectiveness. Without doubt, people want to build a digital twin today, Catherine, so let's build a digital twin. Alrighty, so now we're going to be talking about effectiveness. How do we do things better? So into chat now, who feels that working with AI can be a little bit hit and miss? Sometimes you get great results. Sometimes those results aren't that great, or you start to go, or you think sometimes it can be a bit of luck. So who thinks that it can feel a bit hit and miss? Yes, hit and miss. Yes, especially with Canva. Yes, right. Again, I love the emoji. We've had our first emoji for the day. Thank you, Wan Chow. Well done. Thank you so much. Okay, let's have a look at how we can get your AI to start performing for you. Hit, 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 hit. Alrighty. So the secret sauce is actually how you set up your AI assistant correctly. In the next 5 minutes, I will be taking you through how you can build yourself an AI tool that can think like you. And one of the biggest mistakes we see businesses do is they simply give their teams an AI, the AI, be it Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, and say, off you go. And like any kind of assistant, if we had a human assistant, we'll take them through a reasonably stringent onboarding process. But when it comes to AI, we seem to have skipped this step. And let's dive in and have a look at how we can set our AI correctly, how we can onboard them. So the two things we're going to look at is we're going to look at ChatGPT and how you can do this in ChatGPT and how you can do this in Copilot, because there's no doubt this is what most of the people are going to be on. So we are going to turn your AI into a IA. And what do we mean by an AI? An IA, sorry, it means your intelligent assistant. Okay, so open up ChatGPT, everyone. So open up Copilot or ChatGPT And if I open this now, and they'll put it into chat now, I'm curious, what do you know about me? So if I go into Copilot now, say, I'm curious, what do you know about me? Okay. And I put this into here now. What you'll see is AI knows pretty much everything about me. For some of you, if you go in and ask that question to your AI, or I ask that same question into ChatGPT, and this is Catherine's ChatGPT, you'll see you'll get the same result. It will tell you who we are, what we do, etc. Now, for a lot of you, it will say things that aren't accurate. The reason for that is because AI is a machine learning. It does machine learning. So every time you go to AI and you ask AI to do something for you, then it will remember that and think that's part of your overall personality. So for example, you go to ask AI for recipes, it might think you're a chef. You go to AI and ask it to give you an itinerary for Paris for 4 days, it may think you're a tour operator. The point being is every interaction we've got with AI, it's forming an opinion on what our profile should look like. How do we change that? What we want to do is we want to focus on AI just for our job, for our work. That's where we're going to deliver the most value for us. Yes, of course, we can use it to do recipes and give us tour guide for a particular country, but that's not going to deliver actual value to our business. So the first thing you want to do is you want to be highly focused on exactly what you're using the AI for. So you think about your job, you think about the role, your business, where you operate, you want your business URL, all this information you want to put in there. Now, how do you actually go in and change your memory? How do you go in and change how AI thinks? Well, for most of us, you're probably not even aware. On ChatGPT, for example, we'll start with ChatGPT. If you head down to your bottom left, so the bottom left of your avatar, bottom left, and if you hit the word personalization, you'll see personalization there. So bottom left, personalization, you will get the recording, so you can come back to this if you need to. And then you go down to manage. First and foremost, you should have manage save memories on. And then if you click manage, what this does, this gives you access to everything AI knows about you. And what you can now do is you can go through and you can delete anything in here that isn't relevant to you and your business. Okay, so anything that's not relevant. How do you do that? For example, you just click here and hit delete. So that's the first thing you do. So you want to delete anything. Now, if it's got no memories, it means that you haven't got this switched on. Okay, so first, so go through it again. You go bottom left, personalization, and then you go down manage memories right there. How do you do it in Copilot? In Copilot, you simply go to the top right corner. Up the top right corner, you hit the 3 dots, and then you hit settings. Once you're in settings, you go to personalization and you hit Copilot memory. This is where, again, you'll see lots of information it knows about you. You've got to delete anything that's not relevant. Anything that's not relevant. Why is this super important? Because every time you ask AI to do something for you, every time you do ask AI to do something for you, it's going into your AI brain, and it will then give you an answer. If it knows nothing about your job, nothing about what you do, what your KPIs are, who your core audience is, what your business that you work in, what your business does, what your core challenges are, if it doesn't know anything about that, when you ask it to do a task for you, like help me assess my business plan, or help me have a look at my website, or have a look at anything, it hasn't got any grounding. It doesn't understand who you are. So therefore, the answer, the output it gives you is just a vanilla output.
So great question from Chantel around, should I have 2 separate accounts? Yes, really. In terms of if we're using our work account, then we want it to be predominantly for work usage. But we can also have temporary chat in the AI as well. So if we just want to jump in, a little bit like on Google, when you want to search incognito and you don't want it to remember what you've searched about, you can just search in a temporary chat and then that won't remember anything. So if I'm looking up a recipe or trying to plan my weekend, I'll often use temporary chat. or I can just go in and delete it again afterwards. So yeah, there's different ways to work around it. But I think really what's got messy is because we're going outside of our work systems. So it's a little bit like you think about your work email. You predominantly use it for work purposes. You might send the odd personal email, but most of us now have got our own personal Gmail or something else set up to keep that neatly separated.
So why is this so important? This, by going in and changing your memory, you will start to get hit. Because it has, as I said, that grounding. Whenever you ask it to do any marketing, we talked about recruitment earlier, business plans, research, it already has all the context about you. So it gives you a response that's going to be more aligned and more likely to replicate what you would think. Okay, so that's why it is the most important part of your AI onboarding, is to ensure that you update that memory. So you can go in there at any point. You can go in there, like for example, we go in there weekly and just check it, make sure it's all fine, make sure there's nothing there that we're not happy about. We just delete. Now, I'm just going to check in now. How's everyone getting on? A quick one, 1 to 5. I'm going to talk about how we update it in a moment. How's everyone getting on at the moment? One is, I've got no idea what you're talking about, Steve. 5 is, I totally understand what you're doing, or everything in between. How's everyone getting on? Brilliant. Okay. Brilliant. And whilst you're on chat, which is absolutely amazing, quick check in while we're past the halfway mark. Are we going too fast, too slow, or about right? So into chat, just let us know how we're getting with pacing.
So too fast, too slow, or about right. Right. And we'll get the recording as well afterwards. So if there's any of those, particularly where Steve was doing the guided walkthrough and the demo, we know it takes a second. You're like, where did he go again?
Now, some of you, I hope some of you are absolutely going, yes, I now understand. I've got to improve my memory. One of the questions that we're going to get asked is, how do we add things to our memory? And when you go, all you have to do is you go to ChatGPT and you say, add to memory. So for example, if I was to go here and I was to go to here, new chat, I live in Toronto. I live in Toronto. Add this to my memory. Oops, sorry, I'm out of memory. What you'll see, in fact, I won't add to Toronto. I'm going to say Melbourne, just so I do not want to confuse it, for example, because that's where we are right now. So if we go right now and you add this, what you'll start to see is it will say, I've added this to my, see how it says here, updated, saved memory. So you would obviously do that for your business as well. And you can do that obviously for anything, which might be in Copilot, or it could be in ChatGPT as well. So you simply just say, so you might go, I work at this business, add this to my memory. This is my business URL, add this to my memory. You might say something like, my core audience is, add this to my memory. So whatever it might be, it would be, you've got to keep adding to your memory. Alrighty, so this is where, and then what do you simply do? As I said, you keep going back into your, once you've added things to your memory, you keep going back and you would simply go settings, or remember, you go settings and you go personalization, Copilot memory, and you just want to just check that that these are all straight. As I said, you want to do this probably every once or once probably a week, or maybe a couple of times a month. That will be enough. Just make sure it is going to be spot on. Alrighty. So into any questions, please, into chat about memory. I'm going to ask you a question. Is there a chance to get a copy of all the prompts? No, but there are going to be in the, you will have the recording, so you just copy the recording, but simply it is, what do you know about me, and can you add this to the memory? And here is the, for you, there is for the slide, so you can come back to this slide when you watch the replay the video, and here we've got here. So what you want to add to your memory, as I said, things like your organization, your role, and specific things about your job and the things you do day to day. So yes, it's kind of like journaling, isn't it?
The way I like to think about it, Chantal, is imagine your AI like you've onboarded a human assistant. You wouldn't expect that human assistant to just understand your business or understand what you do each day or how you like to work or, you know, what tone you like to communicate with. There's all sorts of things that if you were hiring somebody, whether they were in the same office, in the same space as you, or you're working with them remotely, you would take them through an onboarding so that they understand you and they're able to support you better. That's the best way to think about it. So it's like, right, if I was going to give my AI an onboarding list tomorrow, what would I want in it so that it helps, as Steve said, give it that context, give it that grounding, and it helps give it better results. So that's a brilliant way to think about it.
Okay. So, team, who thinks into chat? Give me a Y or N. Oh, hang on, a couple of questions came in. Is ChatGPT better than Copilot? It depends. It depends what you're using it for. If I was using it for things like marketing, ChatGPT is brilliant. For things like analyzing my data, like in my spreadsheets and those things, that I'll definitely go Copilot. It just depends on what that problem is that you're trying to solve. Security is obviously another issue, what security settings you've got. But one of the great things about Copilot is it actually integrates into all your other workspace systems. Having said that, it doesn't necessarily have the imagination nor the features that ChatGPT has.
And similar questions from Nora and Birchin, thank you. Do I explicitly have to say every time, add to my memory? No, if you've got reference memory in the chats switched on, it's again, like working with an assistant. Over time, it's going to build up a knowledge base of the kind of things you work on, the kind of projects you do, the things you do most frequently. I did a bit of a fun exercise the other night where I asked AI to do me my equivalent of my Spotify Wrapped for the year and what kind of tasks I go in most frequently. And that was really telling. So you don't explicitly have to say add to memory. It will build up over time. But if there's something really useful or you're working on a new project or something has changed, then absolutely you might want to call that out more explicitly to give it that signal.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And another quick question is, if I delete the chat, does it delete my memory? No, it won't. They're two separate things, so it will still build that impression on you. Another question is it safe? It depends on what licensing you've got and what you're using it for. So safety really comes back down to your own individual guardrails. Can you show me how you can put the memory on?
So Birchin, are you?
Yes.
Well, we'll just quickly run through. So in all the systems, what is helpful is they're all pretty much the same. In any AI you're working with, you'll have a settings section. And in the settings section, you'll have personalization. So both in Copilot and ChatGPT, if we do have anyone on the call in Gemini, Google, unfortunately, it doesn't have this feature yet, but I'm sure it will be coming soon. So yeah, you just make sure you've gone down to manage memory and switched on that reference saved memories. That's what's going to help it learn over time and get more familiar with what you do over time.
So any other questions? Will AI know missing from you if in your memory? No, but what you could say to AI is you could go to AI and say, this is my job. What do you need to know about me in order to work better for me? And it will give you a list of all the questions. So you can ask it to interview and you can add that to your memory as well. So that's just another way of getting it to do as well if you've got that sort of niche job.
And Chris's question, can AI access other tools like QuickBooks, shipping websites, Google keyword planners? We're starting to see integrations, but you want to be really cautious about switching those on at the moment, because if you think about data, it's a little bit like pipe work between your business and the tools and systems that you're using. So ordinarily, no, you're going to go in and upload stuff specifically. You can start to set up integrations when you're a little bit more evolved in your business, but that's definitely something you want to work with IT on so that you're really confident about what data is coming in, but also what data you're flowing back out to those systems. So possible, but needs more work from a systems integration.
Okay, so team, into chat now, give me a Y or N. Who thinks that they could go back after our session this evening and actually add and take things away from your memory? Who thinks they could update their memory? Give us a Y or N into chat. Nora, thank you for being the first of that. Thank you, Karen. Rita, yes. Brilliant. As I said, if you've got any questions, not sure about it, come back to the video. The video will take you step by step on what you need to do. Okay, so the final one, team, the final thing we're going to look at today is we're going to have a look at innovation, how you can use AI to be more innovative. Now, one of the things we're seeing is AI is definitely, as we know, shifting the way we work. We all know that. But where we can deliver the real value is by being able to outsource reliably some of our work to AI to help AI be able to do things more effectively, efficiently, but more innovative. So we're getting really, it's about how we can get AI moving from almost being the director of AI. In other words, we like to think of it, how can we build an army of mini assistants that can that can do tasks for us? They're specialized. They are focused on one clear thing you want them to do, and it's almost like you become almost the conductor of these different assistants. So let's have a look at what we're going to do now. Is we're going to look at how we can shift from individual tasks all the way into creating AI and creating an army of mini assistants. And this is so easy to do. Now, hopefully by the end of this short thing, you'll have some ideas about different AI assistants that you could create. So one of the problems is when every time we go into AI, we ask AI to complete a task for us, we have to go into our platform, where it's Gemini, Copilot, Perplexity, ChatGPT, whatever it might be, and we have to put in a prompt every single time and ask AI to do something for us. Sometimes we're going into AI and asking to do the same thing for us. But one of the problems with using just general chat is every answer it gives you will always be unique. The structure of it will be unique. The words will be unique. If it has emojis, no emojis, it will always give you a unique answer. That sometimes you want it to be a consistent answer every single time in a specific format. So let's have a look at building yourself AI assistants. In Microsoft, in Microsoft Copilot, these things are known as agents. In ChatGPT, they're known as custom GPTs, and in Gemini, they're known as gems. All they are special assistants that can help you do a task for you. And they are absolutely incredible. They do not do them autonomously. You have to then prompt it to do the task for you, but it'll do the task perfect every single time. So, number one rule is your assistants have to have one super focused job. Just like being in an orchestra, being the conductor, you have one, every person in that orchestra has a very specific role. That's exactly how you need to think about it. So, different types of assistants you can create. You can create efficiency assistants. These are where they will do tasks for you. Like, for example, if you have to build a report, which I'll show you in a moment, and it's repeatable, it's the same template every single time, then you might want to build an assistant that can help you build that report, or could be doing summary notes or onboarding emails or agendas, whatever it is that you're repeatedly doing all the time. So this is really focusing on those repetitive tasks. You get an assistant to do things for you. Knowledge assistance becomes the brain, stores information, and you can tap into it. It works exactly like a chatbot. You give it knowledge, and then you can ask that knowledge file questions. So, for example, it could be around one of the ones that we've seen a lot of businesses do is around HR policies. People often go to HR and they get bombarded with questions like, I've had 3 days consecutive off, sick. Do I need to bring a medical certificate? Well, you could build a assistant where all the HR policy is in one assistant, and people could self-serve. Go to the assistant and say, hey, I've been sick 3 days. Do I need it? And you'll get the answer. It could be around product guidelines. You could put your contracts in there. So people were talking about RFPs. You could put all the responses you've done to RFPs before, or any kind of contracts you've worked with, and you can get AI to help you respond to those grants or to those tenders. Okay, so that's kind of a knowledge assistant. The next one is an analyst assistant. An analyst assistant is where you can apply in your spreadsheets. You can build an assistant that has been trained on answering a specific question. So you may have a question or an insight or a formula. You might want to create a predictive model of some sort, and you can draw on that assistant when it looks at your spreadsheet. And the final one is a perspective assistant. This is really exciting. This is when you can start to build assistants from the perspective of maybe your customer, or the perspective of your CEO or your CFO or your marketing team or your sales team. So this is where you build assistants that you can start asking it questions. So for example, you might be doing a proposal, and you might want to know, well, what would a CEO think about my proposal? So you'd create an assistant based on the persona of a CEO, and it will then look at your proposal and say, yeah, well, actually, these are the issues that we think a CEO would want. There's not enough strength talking about return on investment, or there's not nothing about uplift, or they don't understand whatever it might be. So you can start to then use these assistants to get feedback before you then go and present your proposal, your tender that people were talking about earlier. So these are the kind of different assistants you can build. But let's have a look at one assistant. One assistant was, we were working with a company called BitMEX. BitMEX is a cryptocurrency platform out of Singapore. And one of their biggest challenges was they had to do a weekly summary every single week. I'm sure some of us have done this before. So what did they do? They wanted to create a repeatable, templated summary format that they could just brain dump the idea into AI, and AI would then organize it so it's templated perfectly for this weekly summary.
So the biggest frustration was they had to do it every week, but depending on who did it, they couldn't remember which prompt they'd use. The outputs were slightly different every time. Some weeks it was really good, some weeks it was a bit off. So any of these things where you're doing it on a repeat basis and you're going back and you're putting that same prompt in over and over again, rather than using it in that one-off prompting way for each individual task, what you can do is then build this assistant that's always set up to run that task with the same prompt, drawing on that same knowledge to do it in the same way.
So I'll give you an example. Here is, they can see that all of their reports are exactly the same. They're all exactly the same. It starts with overview, goals and objectives, investment requirements, key findings, strategy, and some sort of project. So how can they work with this? So let's put this in action. We created for them an assistant, very simple. We actually trained them to create, but it takes about 15 minutes to build, and it was called the Executive Summary Assistant. And this is the data. So I'll just get the data here now. So this is the random data that they've got in that they wanted to put into their weekly executive summary template. You can just see this is all the data they had from the week. They said, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could just have this templated perfect for this weekly executive summary? So how do they do that? Here's their data we've just talked about here. So this is just random bits. We then simply go to Copilot, and in Copilot, we go to our all agents, which they've created, all agents. And then you have their executive summary agent. And all they now have to do is just dump in their questions, so their details. So just put the information they wanted to put into the template. No worry about size of words or whatever, and you just hit enter. And now what it will do, it will take this and it will now put this into the exact format that we just talked about. So you can see how you can build these mini assistants that allow you to be able to do things a lot more quicker and more efficiently. And this saves them about 6 hours a week just by having this simple tool that they created. They're very, very simple to build. When you build assistants, they're exceptionally easy. Before we do that, I just want to check in. How's everyone getting on? A 1 to 5. 1 is I'm totally lost. 5, I understand. How's everyone getting on in terms of understanding how they work? No, don't understand, just understand the concept.
We need to go. They're not specific. I think they thought that they're different types of assistants. They just.
Okay, so how do you do this? Now, just to let you know, just to go back here, just to let you know, these are just different ways of thinking to use assistants. They're not different assistants as you build them differently. They're just ways that you can think about how you build them differently.
Yeah, so the 4 most common use cases that we see in business is, as we said, the efficiency gem or the efficiency custom GPT. Gosh, we all have meetings all the time, don't we? Wouldn't it be amazing to have one that's built to be a meeting summarizer that takes all our notes, puts them in a templated format, sends them out to everybody in the business with their action points? It could be anything that's like templated and you do all the time. So maybe you send out onboarding emails to new customers or new clients. The knowledge ones, as we said, that's where you want to draw down on information. So if you're working in a business where you've got technical or policies or anything like that. Analyst is the one that Steve's just showing you now, where you might want to draw out data and find trends and forecasts. And perspectives is, we heard somebody earlier, I think, was talking about doing grants and proposals. You might want to build a proposal assessor that every time you do some kind of proposal, you load it up into that assistant and it critiques it and it finds holes in it and it helps you think about it. So they're all just different ways of thinking about tasks in your business that you might go, oh, that's a better way of using it.
So can you show us the steps like you did in Copilot, setting up an assistant? Okay. So I can quickly show you very quickly if that is something that you'd be interested in knowing about. So how do you build them? So if you go to ChatGPT, you have to have the ChatGPT Plus. If you've got the free version, you can't do this. For Copilot, you can build them on the free version, but you don't get access to the knowledge file, which I'll share with you in a moment. How do you build them? You simply go to Explore GPTs at the bottom here. So you've got GPTs, Explore GPTs, and you go to Create. Once you hit Create, you give it a name, which I'm sure everyone would be able to call it a name, anything you want to call it. Describe what you want it to do, and then you just give it the instructions in here. Instructions, what I normally do is just get AI to build the instructions for me. So I would go to AI and I'd say, hey, AI, I want to build a custom GPT that does this. And it will go, right, let's work through it. And I say, help me build the instructions. So it will then tease through what you want to achieve, what you're doing. And it will build the instructions for you. And you simply put those instructions in here. Then if you go down to knowledge file, this is when you would add any additional knowledge that you think your AI assistant needs. So for example, as Catherine said about the knowledge bot, in here, you'd upload your HR policy. And this could be your HR policy bot. So we could build it now very quickly. We'll call it HR policy bot. Help team access the HR policies. Then I go, right, so what do I want to do? And then my knowledge file, I'd upload the HR policy here. And then for instructions, I'll just go to ChatGPT now, open up again. And this is exactly the same system that you use for Copilot or you use for building gems. So I want to build a custom GPT for help team access. So can you help me build the instructions? And it will say yes, and it will start asking you lots of questions along the way. So then we can start to build, we can start to work with it, we can start to have a look at it. It's already starting to build them for me, etc. So it can start helping you build them for you. And you just simply, so decision flow, and it's going to give me all the information. So give me the final instructions. That's still going. And then it will then give me those instructions and I can copy them in. I think this is the best. You are a HR policy assistant for the organization. Your purpose is to help employees, managers find, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're not a lawyer, do not provide legal advice. And you can see how it's already started to build it for me. If I was happy with this hypothetically, I'd simply copy this and I would then put that into my instructions here and I'd add my file and then you test it. It is as simple as that. So with Copilot, you can do that with agents. Go to new agent. And again, you can start to build your agents in there as well. So team, that is a wrap for today. I know that there's, just to let you know that is for the paid version of Plus. You need the paid version of Plus. But what have we done today? We've looked at the opportunity. We talked about staying safe. We talked about efficiency, how we can use AI to be more efficient, find those time sucks, get the team together, etc. The effectiveness, how can we use AI to be more effective? That's when we onboard our AI. Think about memory. Think about how you can update that memory. And finally, we talked about innovation. Innovation, new ways of doing things. Start thinking about building out those assistants. And on that is a wrap from us. I'm going to hand you over now to Julie.
All right, thank you. I gotta say, I think that was one of the most active chat sessions I've seen in a while. So thank you for that. I think you've left us all with some really good takeaways, and I know that I'll be playing around with the memory bit after after we sign off. So Catherine, Stephen, thank you so much for a truly informative, insightful presentation. And to all of our attendees, we hope that you found today's Commerce Talks informative. We'll be sending a post-webinar email tomorrow with a link to the recording, as well as a link to a short survey. So your feedback and your suggestions on future topics are greatly appreciated. So thank you again for joining us, and we wish you all a great evening and a happy holiday season.
Thank you, everyone. And thanks for all your energy and questions in the chat. We've loved spending time with you today and hope that that's going to really help get you AI ready for 2026. So watch out for the slides coming out on your email, and please do complete the survey because it's really helpful feedback for more sessions that you might need in future. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.